By virtue of the authority delegated to me by the Board of Trustees of Montserrat College of Art, I confer upon Rachel Perry the degree of Doctor of Fine Arts, honoris causa, with all the rights, privileges, honors, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Fellow trustees, President Immerman, former President James Davies, Mayor Cahill, members of the council, esteemed faculty, dedicated administration and staff, loyal parents, family and friends, and most of all, fantastically creative students of the 2018 graduating class. Thank you for inviting me to address you on this day. I have been told that in the future, you may remember my name as your commencement speaker, but you won't remember anything I'm about to say. So I will keep my forgettable remarks brief. I'd like to share with you some rules for happiness, rules for life, as I like to call them. Now, I know what happens when you say the word rules to a group of artists. How many artists does it take to change a light bulb? Does it have to be a light bulb? But bear with me here. I'm speaking to you as an artist who makes performances, drawings, photographs, and maybe you're a painter, or you're designing toys or video games, or creating compelling annual reports, or making pots. We are all on this trip together. The first rule is pay attention. I think this is the secret to life, for your career, your personal relationships, your happiness. And your attention is your most precious resource, whether you are giving it to another human being or letting your attention wander over and around your world. It will inform your work, your love, and your well-being. And I'd even say let's change that from pay attention to give attention, as it is really a gesture of generosity to absorb the world around you. It doesn't cost something to give versus pay, to offer versus take. Giving attention is not defined by the circumstances you are in, waiting for the cable guy, standing in line at the deli, in the doctor's office. These are moments that can be spent in boredom or in close observation. They are opportunities for witnessing the world as it exists in whatever form. The fullness of your attention requires exquisite empathy. And from there, beauty flows, even from the unbeautiful. The wise and wonderful poet Mary Oliver says, "Attention without feeling is only a report. Attention is the beginning of devotion." Devotion, attention, empathy. This leads to number 2. Write a love note. Start a habit of sending a handwritten note after an encounter with someone whose work moves you, or someone who has done something for you, offered you a helping hand, done you a favor, inspired you by their fine example. You will notice many such people given the fullness of your attention. Don't underestimate the power of your written word to another human being, no matter how elevated you perceive them to be in this world. Everyone craves connection. The opportunity exists for you to learn, to grow, to contribute, and to inspire in ways that only come from human connection. As a student, I wrote a letter of admiration to Agnes Martin, one of the greatest 20th century painters alive at the time. Who would have predicted that this would lead to our sharing a meal together, celebrating our birthdays, no less, which fall a day apart, and then to what happened next. I was still in art school, thrilled and terrified to meet my heroine at lunch in Taos, New Mexico. As we were leaving the table, I acted on a split-second impulse to grab her soiled paper napkin, soy sauce stained from our shared Asian steak and broccoli. "I will make something from this," I whispered to myself as I followed her away from the table. I watched her strong and solemn form amble out the door ahead of me, and I felt momentarily horrified by my betrayal. I had brazenly appropriated the slobber of this distinguished human being, the leftovers so profoundly personal, the DNA of one of the world's most famous living artists, the evidence that she, like me, puts her gesso-stained pants on one leg at a time. Agnes Martin died 4 years later. Of course, I never did make anything from the napkin. It was already made. But here is this object of devotion, a relic that reminds me of the enduring need for truth and beauty. Who was I to think she would want to hear from me? I didn't question, I just did it. I encourage you to go for it. Don't hesitate. Give yourselves permission. Number 3, find your community. You found it here at Montserrat. Now find it outside of these walls. Think about what it is you value and who shares those values too. Treasure those relationships and sustain them. Continue to support each other as you have here these last 4 years. That said, it's also important to keep people in your life who don't quite understand what you do. They may even be sitting next to you right now. This will keep you thinking in a fresh way about your work, and it will force you to be able to describe to the larger world what you do. Above all, it keeps you humble. I recently FaceTimed an old friend who lives overseas and works in the financial world, and I told her how excited I was that I'd been invited to give the commencement address to Montserrat College of Art. And she said, "Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so happy for you." Later in the call, she said, "Now when is it that you'll be talking to those Montessori children?" Number 4, embrace collaboration. No one does it alone. For every photograph I make, there's Becky printing the fabric and Betsy stitching the dress and Jim doing the styling and Mark pushing the shutter and Paula and Catherine cleaning the files and Marissa organizing the studio and Nick wrapping and hanging and Alex sending the press release and Sarah and Yancey and Matthew showing and selling and sharing the work. Despite the fact that we are in a solitary profession and making art is mostly an individual sport, we rely on others to help us get it done. So foster the atmosphere for working together. You never know what will happen when you get a bunch of creative people thinking together. Number 5, be yourself. Recognize that your authentic voice is your artistic voice. If you try to make something that everyone will like, no one will love it. Like so many, I was struck by the presence of Johnny Weir as a commentator at the recent Olympics and his utter confidence presenting himself through his creative and flamboyant sartorial choices. When asked about it, he said, "I'm going to be who I am from the time I wake up till the time I go to bed until the day I die." Let's all have such courage. The first work of art I ever made wasn't anything special, but something about it felt right to me. I look back at that young girl, too afraid to be who she was, and I want to say to her, just be yourself. And if you don't see yourself represented, go out and represent yourself. Francis Ford Coppola once said, "The things that get you fired when you're younger are the things that they give you lifetime achievement awards for later." Number 6, it has been said over and over, and I want to say it again with emphasis because it's the truth and it's the way. Work hard. It's that simple. You got through Montserrat, so clearly you understand the value of hard work. Hard work is a lifetime commitment, and what a wonderful thing to commit your life to. And it's a feedback loop. You will work harder at what you love, and therefore you will be better at it, and on it goes. Hard work is the best answer I know to rejection. Get used to it. Take delight as they stack up, because each rejection brings you closer to your goal. Year after year after year, I got denied a show at the DeCordova Museum here in Massachusetts. This after multiple studio visits with the curator who insisted he was deeply interested in my work but couldn't get it past the powers that be at the museum. Meanwhile, I worked and worked at my projects. My skills improved. My focus tightened. My agency became clearer. Ideas came and grew. A decade later, wouldn't you know that the institution that offered me my first major solo museum show was the DeCordova Museum? And by that time, I was prepared. I used those rejection letters and emails as fodder for my work. They are actually physically hidden inside the pages of the catalog that accompanied that exhibition. You don't have to turn your rejection into art, as I did, but you can still use it, turn toward it. When you get that email that bears disappointing news, when you don't get the grant that you applied for, ask yourself, when things don't go your way, how can I view this as a gift? Number 7, do it with empathy and kindness. This world needs you to stop everything and go make art. And if you can do that with compassion, you'll realize that you have the best job in the world. You're not paving over meadows, nor polluting the water. Your biggest failure, if it happens, is not elevating the human soul. You can rightfully feel grateful to everyone you've encountered. All of them made you an artist. Go light up the world, give attention to everyone and all things, work incredibly hard, be your compassionate selves, and even if you don't remember what I've said, someday you'll think of your commencement from Montserrat and maybe send me a note. I promise I'll write back.
Hold on, it's not over yet. Hi, I'm Steve Carell. Rachel and I graduated together many years ago, and I don't know exactly what she said to you, but if it were me, this is what I would have said. There are 7 basic rules to being happy. Pay attention, write to people, find your community, collaborate, be yourself, work hard, and do it with empathy and kindness. You know what? You're not going to remember any of this stuff anyway. So let me just say, congratulations, Montserrat, class of 2018.